Okay, so I'm here to discuss how we can accelerate scientific discovery. I hope to have with me in the Zoom Dr. Dean Ornish and Dr. Cesar de la Fuente, which I don't see it yet. And let me tell you a little bit about myself first and my colleagues, and then I will start saying what is my experience in science. I'm a scientist working in the United States, and then I will go with the other speakers that are here, and hopefully we can get a conversation about what is the most important thing about how to translate and to get quickly in science, both perhaps in industry or in academic. We are all academics here, translated into products that make impact in human health. So my name is Adolfo García Sastre. I'm a virologist. I work with viruses. I have become now famous because COVID-19, which is one of the things that scientists didn't have before. I've been working with influenza before. I work also with both influenza and COVID-19. I'm in the United States. I'm in New York, in the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, where I have been for 30 years working with viruses. And my colleagues, Cesar de la Fuente is assistant professor, is a young assistant professor in University of Pennsylvania, also from Spain, but working in University of Pennsylvania, and he is an expert on antimicrobial peptides and using computer techniques to create new antibiotics, as well as working with microbiota to improve mental health. And we have also Dr. Dean Ornish, which is founder and president of Preventive Medicine Research Institute. It's a non-profit organization in Sausalito, California, dedicated to how to have good practices, especially in diet, to improve, prevent cardiac problems. And he has been actually one of the creators of a diet that allows to reduce cardiac problems, which is the Ornish diet. So with that, I will start to tell you a little bit my experience, and then I will go to the other opponents if we have them here. So myself, I arrived when I was young to do a postdoc in the United States working with viruses, as I say. So viruses, they have always been thought as really bad creatures. You know what COVID is doing, Ebola, all of these things, but viruses are also extremely good tools to do something in our bodies that could be helpful. We know all about the adeno vaccines for COVID-19. These are based on viruses, on adenoviruses. So you can change viruses if we know how to change them and if we understand them in such a way that can be delivery tools for therapeutics and for vaccines. I'm working on oncolytic viruses, how to make a virus able to eliminate tumors. A virus is able to eliminate cells, so it can also eliminate tumors if you know how to change this virus that now goes specific for tumor cells. Viruses are wonderful for vaccine vectors, as we know. My experience with viruses when I went there, and that's so important, technology. Molecular biology was starting to be possible for RNA viruses. What is that, molecular biology for RNA viruses? This allows to change the genetic makeup of RNA viruses. You can make an RNA virus from scratch, from cDNA. So you can introduce into a virus whatever properties you would like to have if you know how is the biology of this virus and what you can do with this virus. You can make the virus to kill tumors, you can make the virus to make a vaccine. We developed techniques that allows to manipulate the genome of influenza virus. These techniques now being used for vaccines. The live-attenuated vaccine of influenza virus is being made using these techniques, and that's some of the things that can be done. Now, the important thing with accelerating, where I think accelerating scientific discovery, is, and this has become very evident when COVID-19 came, is one of the positive things about COVID-19. COVID-19 has a lot of negative things, but COVID-19 imposed a challenge to the society, the international society, scientific society, to come out with solutions as fast as possible. And that's the reason why we have vaccines right now in such a little amount of time. The technology was there, new technologies to be able to come out with new vaccines, but they were not yet at the speed that it was needed in order to come out with these vaccines. But there was an accelerating of this speed. And how this was achieved? This was achieved by a huge international cooperation, a lot of flexibility about how to conduct clinical trials, but conducted robust clinical trials. And that's, I think that's some of the themes that we have. There is very good ideas right now. With the technology has evolved now incredible. What it can be done with technology is a lot of things. There are a lot of good ideas around. The question is how to put these ideas and move them forward. Some of them come from academia, some of them come from industry, and it's the cooperation between these different places, eliminating barriers that may not be able to interact, making fields that they were before very compartmentalized. A virologist only know about viruses. A bacteriologist only knows about bacteria. An immunologist only about immunology. Biology is all a continuum. There are no these different silos. And then you need to cooperate with a lot of people in order to make an impact, but it needs to be a good cooperation, positive cooperation, and now the tools are there to do a lot of things. And perhaps with that, I stop and I get my other colleagues to talk a little bit about their experiences.
Good morning. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Professor Garcia. So I'm Dean Ornish. I'm a professor of medicine at the University of California, San Francisco. And I started a nonprofit institute called the Preventive Medicine Research Institute in 1984, because I found that when working in academia, things get so siloed sometimes that it's hard to really bring together the interdisciplinary team that can enable us to really see the world in a different way. And over the last 40 years, my colleagues and I have been able to show that simple lifestyle changes, a low-fat, whole foods, plant-based diet, moderate exercise, meditation, and other yoga-based stress management techniques, and support groups, or to reduce it to its essence, to eat well, move more, stress less, and love more, could actually reverse the progression of a wide variety of chronic diseases. We were the first to show, for example, that even severe heart disease could actually be reversed. The arteries that feed the heart, instead of getting more and more clogged over time, could actually get less and less clogged. We found these same lifestyle changes could reverse type 2 diabetes, early stage prostate cancer. We did studies, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity. We did a study with Craig Venter, who was the first to decode the human genome, showing that over 500 genes were changed in just 3 months, turning on and upregulating the genes that protect us, turning off or downregulating the genes that cause us to get sick. We did a study with Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Prize for discovering telomeres, the ends of our chromosomes that regulate cellular aging. And we found that we could actually lengthen telomeres, in a sense, reverse aging at a cellular level. And we're now in the midst of the first randomized trial to see if these same lifestyle changes may stop or reverse the progression of early stage Alzheimer's disease. I wrote a book about a year and a half ago called Undo It, which put forth this unifying theory, which is that why is it these same lifestyle changes can affect so many different diseases? And the reason is that they really aren't so different from each other. They all share the same underlying biological mechanisms: chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, changes in immune function, in the microbiome, and telomeres, and gene expression, and angiogenesis, and so on. And each one of these biological mechanisms, in turn, is directly influenced by what we eat, how we respond to stress, how much exercise we get, and how much love and social support we have. Now, Professor Garcia Sestro mentioned COVID-19, which of course is on everyone's mind. But it's not just avoiding the virus, which of course is important. We all need to wear masks and socially distance and have vaccinations and so on. But how your body interacts with the virus is in part related to our diet and lifestyle. There was one study that just came out a month or so ago that looked at frontline health workers in 6 different countries, including Spain, in about 3,000 healthcare workers. And they found that those that were eating a whole foods plant-based diet were 73% less likely to develop moderate to severe COVID infections, whereas those on a high animal protein diet, an Atkins type diet, were actually 4 times more likely to get it. Another study that was done by Sheldon Cohen found he actually dripped rhinovirus, the virus that causes the common cold, into the noses of volunteers. I don't know how he got people to volunteer for this study, but that's another story. And 100% of the people got infected with the virus, but not everyone who got infected got sick. And they found that those who had 4 or more visits or phone calls from a friend over a 2 week period compared to those that had 2 or fewer were 4 times less likely to develop the signs and symptoms of a cold. So it's not just avoiding a virus, it's how our body interacts with it, which in turn is a direct function of the diet and lifestyle changes that we make each day. Now, it took us 16 years, but Medicare eventually created a new benefit category to pay for us to train people in this program. It's harder in the spirit of the South Summit. It's harder when you're dealing with lifestyle changes because it's not like a new drug or a new device that you can patent. It's really available to everyone. And so there's a bias towards more money being available for things like drugs and devices and surgical procedures and so on. But over time, we were able to get Medicare to cover this. Most of the major insurance companies in the United States are now covering it as well. And the last thing I want to just put out there is that we're finding that offering this program virtually through Zoom and other telemedicine works as well as doing it in person. And so that's opening up a new world for us to be able to help people wherever they live at a much lower cost. So let me stop here and turn it over to Cesar.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Cesar?
Yeah, great. Thank you, Dean and Adolfo. First of all, it's great to be here. So my name is Cesar de la Fuente. I'm a presidential assistant professor at the University of Pennsylvania. So the question here is, how do you accelerate scientific discovery? I think in a moment of crisis like the pandemic that we're living today, it's a great opportunity to accelerate discovery. Like Adolfo was mentioning, the mRNA vaccines, that whole technology, of course, it's not a new technology. It's something that has been worked on for the last 20 years or so, but now it's ripe at the right moment and can be actually scaled up and deployed in the population relatively rapidly. We've seen that instead of having to wait 10 years on average to develop a vaccine, we've done that as a society in a year and a half, and so that's really incredible. That's a great way of accelerating scientific discovery. I totally agree also with what Dean was mentioning of not only worrying about external discoveries, but also internal, right? From within, taking care of our own bodies to boost our immune system to help us fight off invading organisms like viruses. Also, extremely important. Um, in my case, my laboratory during the pandemic. So before the pandemic, we work typically on trying to develop novel antibiotics to treat bacterial infections, and we're incorporating concepts from artificial intelligence to allow us to do that. Uh, but when the pandemic hit, around March of 2020, we decided to try to detect, you know, SARS-CoV-2. And previously, we were doing some work with the detection of bacteria, but so we repurposed some of that work to be able to diagnose COVID. And we identified two main areas where we thought we could have impact. The first one was we needed a technology that was sufficiently inexpensive, um, low cost, right? So that everybody would have access to it, not only people with economic means, but also individuals that live in low research settings or developing countries. And then the second thing that we identified as a gap in the market was a technology that was rapid, right? That allowed to do the detection relatively quickly. So instead of having to wait half an hour, 1 hour, or several hours, that we could do that in a matter of minutes. And so we've been working quite hard in the last almost 2 years now, and we've developed 3 different prototypes to detect COVID-19. And two of them, well, they use different technologies. Two of them use electrochemistry, which we can basically capture the binding of the virus to a receptor and transform that into an electrical signal that we can pick up and detect on our cell phones. And the second one is one that uses nanotechnology, where we've engineered cotton swabs that when they come into contact with the virus, they shift color. So it's sort of like a pregnancy test that we're all very familiar with, where we see a color shift when you're pregnant, and in this case, you see a color shift if you're infected with the virus. And so I'll just leave it at that. I think it's essential to be what I refer to as transdisciplinary, where the different disciplines, the boundaries blur, and instead of silos, we all come together, we converge to really try to tackle big problems. And so I think that's something that has definitely changed in not only in the world of the industry but also in academia in recent years, and that's an exciting thing. So I'll leave it at that and maybe open the floor for some discussion.
Hey, and Cesar, congratulations on your recent award from the American Society of Microbiologists for your pioneering work. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dean. Much appreciated.
So I think we didn't actually talk together before coming here, but I think you have here similar things from us, especially the big challenge that COVID-19 put into science and how science has come up to the challenge by fundamentally is things that have to do with doing interdisciplinary work. Before we were talking a lot about interdisciplinary work, but it has been during COVID-19 where truly different teams came together, tried to come up with translational products, both vaccines, diagnostics, as well as treatments. And treatments, we are a little bit behind, but there are coming some new treatments. And you need this cooperation between the different scientists. We are working on same biology, and all biology is related. It's not that viruses work differently than hosts. No, all biology is related, and we need to put all the biology together through these interdisciplinary teams, working together with ties also to industry so that you can get quickly translation into industry, cooperation with industry, and with regulatory agencies and with the society in order what is needed at this moment, how we can bring something from science into something that goes into regulatory finally approval. And you need these teams, and these teams that have been created, it's clear that you can create these teams. COVID-19 told us that it's possible, and hopefully we continue to do that in the future. The talent is very important also, the new talent, people with new ideas. The technology is incredible right now, what can be done. It's a question of having the right ideas in order to apply to the right areas. You want to mention something else?
No, I was just going to say that I agree with what both of you are saying, that if anything good came out of the COVID-19 pandemic, it's the urge to get beyond the silos, everybody, there's an old saying, things get so vicious in academia because the stakes are so low. It's all about power and prestige and so on. And so the idea that the pandemic forced everyone to transcend those boundaries and to collaborate, that to me is where things get most creative and most interesting, is when you can bring people who can see things from their own different perspectives. Nobody has a monopoly on truth. And when you can bring people together from different disciplines, and it's like the blind man and the elephant, everyone has a piece of it, thinks they know what it is, but when you can bring so many different perspectives together, that's where things get the most creative. So if there's some time for some questions, I'm sure I would welcome them.
Yeah, we just want to add that, I think it's essential also to encourage the young generation, the kids, the kids that are growing up now to really consider getting involved in science and technology. I think it's an amazing career, and instead of just thinking about being football players or actresses or something like that, I would encourage them to consider this as a career.
Yeah, there is a lot of challenges ahead, and a lot of, and we are going to need the young people climate change is one of them. He said, perhaps I open to if there is any question from the audience. Yep.
Okay. Your title, Accelerating Scientific Discovery, we've actually worked with Spain here with a research group from the University of Castilla-La Mancha, specifically with neurology. And we had a paper published in the American Journal of Neurology and Brain from University of Oxford Press. So when I'm thinking of accelerating scientific discovery, from my point of view as an institution, I'm thinking more how we can help those non-native researchers promote their insights, their research, to actually contribute to what happened now with COVID-19. So this is something I would like to speak more, if I can with you, how we can help researchers in countries like, for example, in Spain, Germany, who have the ideas, who have the knowledge, the capacity, but they don't know how to take it to the next level.
Yeah, it's
So
also
when
very
I,
important.
when I think of
yeah.
accelerating scientific discovery, from my point of view, I think of that.
This education is also very important. And things that are extremely important are the barriers that are right now that don't allow talking from academia into industry, from industry. This needs to be taken out. It's not only funding. Funding is needed. But it's not only funding. It's the barriers that don't allow people to talk between each other. This one needs to go away. And, it's going away in different countries. And hopefully in Spain, they will go away because it's tough in academia to understand what is going on in industry. And this is very important that academicians know what is going on in industry, know some regulatory aspects, so they know what they're dealing with, and they know how to navigate these things in order that it's not only the discovery, it's also the translation of the discovery.
I mean, as an American, living here many years in Spain, working with these different groups, we successfully published a paper in those two respective journals in the US and UK. But if they didn't have our help, their ideas would never have been heard.
Yeah.
So I see this as a huge potential to actually work with Spanish researchers in a wide capacity to actually contribute to accelerate scientific discovery. And it's something that I would love to speak with you personally.
Yep, no, I agree.
After the fact.
I think we are running out of time. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.